First
Yeah.
off, allow me to say thank you for your time, Sri. It's a pleasure, it's a privilege to have a leader of your stature on our call. And we are actually looking forward to learning from you. In fact, our leaders, our community is waiting to listen to you as well. So thank you for taking the time.
Hey, thanks, Venki, for having me. It's pleasure and privilege also to have conversation with you.
Definitely, definitely. Allow me to start off, Sri. I mean, I remember in one of your blog posts, you had mentioned that your father was a temple priest, which means you must have grown up with a lot of values and principles. How is
Yeah,
that helping you to build better leaders, Sri?
yeah. So, Venki, that's a great question. It's not only for me, it's all of us are product of our own experiences. And these experiences, right from childhood, the schooling, the neighborhood experience, the family experience, then you get into higher education experience. Then I have 27 years of work experience spread across various companies. So all of us who we are today is a product of our own experiences. But some of the leadership traits and personality get molded very early part of your life. Then what it does, every incident is only a accelerator or a reinforcer.
Hmm.
So what we are today greatly is part of our childhood experiences. So in that way, I'm blessed to have a great childhood experiences. I'm born and brought up in Trivandrum, in the temple city of Padmanabha Swami Temple.
Wow.
So 2 3 things it's really helped me. One is, as you rightly said, having right morality and values,
Hmm.
and a fear of God. When you do anything, if nobody is watching you, then you tend to behave differently.
Beautiful.
But when you have a religious background, you know that somebody is watching above the sky or
All
above
the
the earth,
time.
and it's all the time. So the definition of values is preference for the preferable.
Hmm.
And like we say, the definition of value and culture is how do you behave when the light is off?
Hmm.
How do you behave? Nobody's seeing you. But in so that's one of the biggest thing. I grow up with a beliefs and fear of God, that if you do something, it will not be right if you do it unethical things, and it will come back to you. So that is one thing.
Beautiful.
The second one, all of us are blessed with the good deeds your ancestors have done for you. What we are today is product of our good deeds of our ancestors. So my 2 generation or 3 generations have done a lot of good deeds um, as part of the religious ceremonies and festivals as well as practices.
Sure.
So what I always believe, in fact, you don't believe, you believe horoscope. In my horoscope, it clearly shows that what I am today because of the lot of blessings from my great grandfathers and father. Yeah. So that is a little tricky. Similarly, what you do today, your children will get impacted if you don't do right deeds.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
while you thank your ancestors and forefathers, good karma which you are reaping it.
Sure.
Similarly, you need to force to do the same thing so that your kids will get impacted or reap the good karma you do it. So that's one of the belief I always practiced in my leadership journey.
Wonderful.
The next 2 things is very important for me is when I grow up in an ecosystem where we have limited resources
Mm.
to meet our requirements. So
Mm.
my dad used to tell me there are 3 types of needs. One is basic needs. We call it as necessary.
Right.
Then luxury and unnecessary. So we have been taught into whenever we put a proposal for doing something in childhood, he used to ask us to classify them in one of the unnecessary, necessary, and luxury.
Mm.
And of course, unnecessary and luxury, you never get it. Only you'll get it what is necessary. So you have to use your own thing. So why I'm mentioning that is, when I was a young boy, I was very thin,
Mm.
a little introvert because of my family background,
Mm.
and a lack of confidence because of some of the difficulties you have gone through in the childhood. So I was very comfortable in my skin. I never
Mm.
cover up who I am with artificial things. So
Mm,
I'm very visible, very transparent. So one of the leadership quality today you need to have it. Leaders are vulnerable,
mm.
and leaders should be very comfortable in their skins, whatever it may be. Whether you're a thin, tall, white, black, or introvert, or you should be very comfortable in your skin. My childhood experience taught me how to become comfortable in your skin. That turns into later on the leadership values of authenticity.
Very
The authenticity comes from people who are comfortable in their skins are very authentic.
true.
So the childhood experience two three things: the fear of uh, something is watching you, so you always need to do the right things in your life. The
True.
second one is only focus on what is necessary and
Mm,
avoid luxury and unnecessary things in life. So the concept of frugality, what we
mm.
talk in today management, is very very important, which I learned in GE and Britannia and couple of companies I work. Toyota, these are very rich companies, but they behave like a middle class Indian family, like frugality when it comes to even Amazon. Now one of the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
values is frugality. I learned frugality,
Mm,
which I practice today as part of the expense management in companies where I work. Then the third one is being comfortable in your skin or
mm,
authentic, and the fourth one is I learned relationship, importance of relationship in
mm.
life. From childhood I cared a relationship with my friends, my community, my family, my professors. For example, still I'm in touch with uh, a teacher who taught me in 10th grade.
Beautiful.
um,
Beautiful.
yeah, still I'm in touch with people who taught me in my undergraduation. Still I'm in touch with professors who taught me in masters. I'm touch with before even Facebook and everything came. I used to, whenever I go to Trivandrum, I go and personally meet them.
Wonderful.
I'm still in touch with my first boss, to the last boss who is Mike Laurie, who is in. So I value relationship, and it's a lifetime relationship for me. Relationships are lifetime. It's not for a transaction you build it. So these are the early childhood experience I nurtured it. Still I practice it, and it's really helping me to be an effective leader. Yeah,
Beautiful. And I'm so happy to hear that. I mean, uh,
yeah,
your leadership is a foundation of values, Sri.
yeah,
But I mean, I'm reminded of what made me come out and set up the company. It's what we call a divine responsibility to make others great, right? It's wonderful. And you were mentioning a number of different companies you were with, Britannia, Toyota, right? Now, each
G.
of
Yeah.
these, yeah, GE, each of these companies, Sri, has
Mhm.
scores, if not hundreds of leaders.
Yeah,
What I'm curious about is how do you develop leaders at scale, Sri? That's a
yeah,
different problem altogether.
absolutely. The first one, I believe, the leadership and culture are twin brothers or sisters. The leader is a physical twin, and the culture is a virtual twin.
Hmm.
And these great companies had great culture,
Hmm.
and this culture mold leaders in mass. That's one thing I learned in my life.
Hmm.
You cannot have any number. You can have any number of training programs, coaching. Of course, it's a great tool.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, the culture defines leadership values, and leadership values define culture.
Hmm.
And the Toyotas and GEs of the world have a very strong culture. And when you get selected, they screen whether you will be fit in this culture. And when you onboard, you are assimilated into this culture
Very good.
from the day one.
Hmm.
Then the culture will correct the leadership behavior. Culture will set expectation. Culture will mold your values and your attributes. So the mass leadership development tool is culture. That's what one thing. And this company is strongly focused on culture, so that the culture uh, direct leadership behavior and corrects its in its own systems and process. That's one thing very very important.
Very good.
The second one is this company given ownership of leadership development to the leaders.
Hmm.
It's not a checkbox. I have seen some of the companies. You attend this training program, you get this coached. It's not a checkbox. These companies have given the greater accountability of development to these leaders.
Wonderful.
And yeah, these leaders, it is yours to build it. We have infrastructure, we have programs, We have systems, process, everything, but you need to build it. So the accountability is shifted to the leaders. And I remember when I was in G, I was the first master black belt in talent or
Ah.
HR.
Ah.
So G had a phenomenal programs like CAP, Crottenville training program. Then we had coaching infrastructure available. So it's yours to own it and yours to build it. Nobody will follow and trace it. And if you don't do it, the consequence you have to face it of not becoming a good leader, kind of a thing. That's the second one. The third one and the fourth one is the concept of leadership is in an ecosystem of the community.
Beautiful.
You have a subordinate, you have peers, you have bosses, you have customers, you have vendors, you have different stakeholders. And the leadership dynamics or a growth is how you interact with this ecosystem, even with subordinates. A 360 view of what we could, then it become a 360 the feedback, all this kind of things. So you need to really understand you are not alone in an island. You are reading a people which you need to be a good subordinate to become a good leader. You need to be a good peer to become a good leader. You need to be a good leader to lead others. It's a privilege and an honor. So these are three things I said. Match leadership development require a culture which influence leadership. Second one, it's an ownership is with the leaders. There are a lot of infrastructure available. Like EY, we call it. It's yours to build it. The last one is the dynamics between the 360-degree stakeholders is important. That's how you develop yourself. Maybe if I add one more thing, is these companies value leadership. That's very, very important. And many organizations, although they talk about leadership and everything, they don't value leadership. And these companies consider leadership as an intangible asset. And which is they want to nurture it, they want to quantify it, they want to evaluate it. So that's one thing. Leadership matters in this company. But I worked in some of the companies, the leadership doesn't matters because there is no role models and there is no leadership influencers, and we don't know how leadership is valued in this company. So that's the fourth one I'll add it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And then what I'm learning here, Sri, is that it's a number of different elements that comes together. It is not one single recipe that you go ahead and build it.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things that have impressed me, Sri, whenever I meet with you, is how you build multiple things together. I call this the intersection of technology, intersection of people, intersection of innovation, things like that. What I'm curious about is how does Sri learn?
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, the learning starts curiosity. I remember in my childhood, one of my professor told me, nobody can teach anybody. Only people can learn from others. Isn't it? Yeah, you can take a horse to a water, but you cannot make it drink because the horse will only drink if it feels thirsty. So I always believed in learning rather than teaching. Uh, you need to learn yourself. And the curiosity is one thing the teacher uh, put on the students' mind. So that's one thing I can, for example, I was a psychology student and still I learned psychology because I'm very passionate. I'm curious about what's happening in the field of psychology. That's one thing. So curiosity is very, very important. In EY standards, we call it as better questions. And curiosity is one of our leadership trait that you want to know more and more and more and more. The second one is I strongly believe unless you share what you learned, um, your learning is incomplete.
Very nice.
So I always share what I learned with the people. Even the teachers day for yesterday, I got a lot of messages and everything from people whom I worked with 25 years, and even some of my students, friends, classmates in masters. I used to be considered as first level teacher. They will come to me before exams. Before exams, people ask me, Sri, can you come 1 hour before the exams? Because you tell everything like a story, which will remember in our mind.
Very nice.
So I go to exam before bunch of us sit together 1 hour before or 2 hours before exams, and I will share what I learned, like a story, main themes and everything. So that stick to the people. So second one is after curiosities, you need to, if you want to learn more and more, you need to share more and more. Then only you can learn it.
Beautiful.
The third and most important thing I happen to, as a psychology student, I heard Kolb's KHOLB. Kolb is an experiential learning.
Mm.
So Kolb theory of learning is what I followed it. It have 4 dimensions,
Mm.
and both all the 4 dimensions are bipolar,
Mm.
opposite.
Mm.
The vertical axis is called concrete experience and abstract conceptualization.
Mm.
These are two opposite dimension, and the horizontal is reflective observation and active experimentation.
Mm.
So if you really look at learning is a journey where you start with, for example, concrete experience. For example, you and me are interacting today is a concrete experience for us.
True.
Then after this, I will go and reflectively observe. Did I articulate very well? Did I mention everything rightly? So I'll reflect myself.
Right.
Or I can reflect, call you and ask Venki, hey, how was it? Everything is okay. Did you any feedback for me? That's called reflective observation.
Mm.
Then you need to make abstract conceptualization. When I have a next time such interview, what should be my thought process to explain?
Beautiful.
Then when I get the next time, I should apply that, experiment it, then it become a concrete experience.
Mm.
So people seldom don't go through this cycle. For example, not that everything start in concrete experience. Abstract conceptualization is, I read a book called G Way or Google
Mm.
Way.
Mm.
That's a concept,
Correct.
but I never experienced it. But
Mm.
I need to experiment some of the learnings and create concrete experience based on that, then reflectively observe.
Correct.
So the ability to go through this. So what I have done in my learning, I always, whatever I learn, apply it, to put in simple way.
Very good.
Apply
Very.
it and test it. You call it innovation or application. I'll test it. Then I will learn immediately. Then share my learnings with a couple of people. So that's my learning style or leadership learning style, which I really helped me. Then the last one is, you know, there's a saying in EY, unless you push your boundaries, you never can break it. So I never believed in, although my talent is my profession or HR, I learned quality, Six Sigma, data science, technology, SAP. So I push my boundaries. I did not contain myself as a talent leader, try to grow within the talent or HR. I was a CHRO twice, but I was a business leader thrice. I was M&A head. I was a CIO in Britannia. And people ask me, how can HR professional get into multiple discipline? I said, it's nothing. There's no boundaries. If you put your boundaries, and at last one, I put the boundaries are not defined by companies. The boundaries are defined by us.
Mm.
We have mental boundaries. Oh, this is not acceptable in this company. This company doesn't appreciate it and everything. So break your mental boundaries, push it hard and break it. Unless you push it and set your limit. Then last one is, when you push it your boundaries, you are getting more space to operate in. I want more space to operate as a leader. And Srini Rao, who's my boss, delegates a lot and he gives a lot of space. So I don't suffocate it. If I don't have space, I suffocate it. And I give that space to my team. Unless I get the space, I cannot give the space to my team. So I always, not only for my need, I think people want space to operate
Wonderful.
and allow them to acquire more and more spaces. That's what I have done it. Yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. I love that teach to learn stream. And in fact, people whom I interact with, they are saying, I'm either doing this project for Sri, he has given me this book to read, or he sent me this
Yeah.
article to read. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
all of that is coming through in how you are sharing, caring, and energizing. I mean, at the same time, you're learning as well.
Absolutely.
Which brings me to another important point, Sri. Remember, as a leader, you are learning. But the fact is, there are a number of people who are missing out on opportunities, especially in these times of change, right? COVID-19, there is so much change that is happening. So, from your leadership position, Sri, what are those blind spots that you are observing in leaders? What are they missing out on?
Yeah. Again, the first thing I always believe, um, the COVID has separated us physically, isn't it? We can't meet in person and everything, but it has brought us together psychologically. That means I get to spend a lot of time with my team today. When I talk to you, I saw a painting behind you. Then ask, hey, what is that painting? Then somebody moved behind you, your son or a daughter or wife or parents. Then I say, hey, who? Can I say hi to them?
So,
Then background, there's a dog barking. And I say, hey, Venkat, I never know that you have a dog. So this has really brought me psychologically closer to people. So every change you can see a constraints and an opportunity. Don't look at the constraints, look at the opportunity. And I have seen many people looking only at the constraints. We cannot meet, we cannot do this, we can. I said, no, look at the opportunity, what it provides. That is very, very important. The second one is every change brings a new norm. And we call it in COVID is new norms are coming. And you need to really understand the new norm, how it is going to define your behaviors of leadership, how the new norm is going to change things and accept it and embrace it. It's very important. The new norms has to be accepted very quickly. The third important point, which I have seen people in this COVID situation, is I read a great book on called O's Principles of Accountability. And people start blaming the situations. The blame game is very high. In O's principle, it says that there are four stages to drive accountability. One is you see it. You need to see it. For example, you're working with me. Sometimes you don't see it. A leader's job is to make you to see the opportunity or a threat. Once you see it, then next step is you need to own it. You say, well, I've seen it. It's not my problem. It's not my thing. It's somebody has to do it. Then I make you to own it. You first I made you to see it. Then I made you to own it. Then third one is I ask you to solve it. Then again, people solve in PowerPoint presentations and meeting rooms and everything. Then they don't do it what they solved it. So the real challenge in today's world is how do you make your people to see what is happening around you in the COVID? How do you make them to own it? Then how do you make them to solve it? And how do you make them to do it? And these are four stages we need to take it. I've seen this. What I worked with my team is today is to make people to see it, own it, do solve it, and do it. Then the last one is very, very important. Is today we need to really look at what we call it as transformative leaders are essential. Like in EY, we call it as we don't want transactional leaders in COVID world. The transactions will automatically be taken care, and there are leaders or there are people who are comfortable and do it. This is an era of transformation, and I call it transformative leaders lead to win. Transactional leaders lead not to lose. They play defense. In a football, transactional leaders draw is okay for them, so they will be defending their goal post, ensure that nobody put a goal on their post. They are transactional leaders. For them, they're leading not to lose. But transformative leaders lead to win. For them, they will be in opposition goalpost, and for them, draw is not okay. They have to win. They are okay with losing it. If it lose, it's a learning. But draw is not okay. So today, I've seen many of the behavior. What I'm trying with my team is also don't lead to not to lose. Don't play defensive. Like oh, in this place, like if I have a job, that's fine. Because a lot of people are laying off. So if I have a job means I'm doing well. That is lead not to lose. In this, it's not only having a job, but I see a growth opportunity in this marketplace. For example, I was thinking I'm so excited in this marketplace. Now this is a place I feel I can be more and more relevant with my leadership style and competencies. Like so, I want to advise to people: don't lead to not to lose. Don't pay defensive. Don't come to settlement saying that if I get a job or if I have a job, if I secure a job, it's okay in this situation. My neighbor got fired, my colleague got fired. No, don't settle down. That's lead not to lose. You need to really progress. You need to change. You need to transform. You need to contribute. You need to grow in this place. It's very important.
Last couple of questions. I'm respectful of your time as well, Sri.
Yeah.
Normally in organizations, what happens is the leader is at the forefront. They have these ideas, they have this vision, they are chugging along at 200 miles per hour. The organization is operating at 30 miles per hour.
Yeah.
How do smart leaders carry the organization along, Sri?
Yeah, absolutely. That's very, very important. That's one of the coaching feedback I got it when I left GE and joined the Computer Associates. My boss was a GE person, Andy Goodman.
Mm,
And he used to really like me a lot. That's the reason he took me to US. For 8 years I worked under him in US, and he used to advise two things to me: Sri, don't over engineer, don't over engineer systems and process where companies cannot digest it, cannot take it. You need to be balancing optimally. The second one, he used to tell me, you are too fast for the organization and people, you scare people, you move very fast. Ensure that you take people along with you.
mm,
That's very, very important. The third one, it was not for me, but he used to tell me that people coming from G at that time, they're very aggressive. They walk over the dead bodies of their colleagues and friends and relatives to achieve what they want in life.
mm,
So these three things really help me. That being, I never compromise. The organization is not ready, so I will go slow. That's not the right thing to do. But how do you take people along with you? And you also will need to understand not that everybody can come with you at your velocity and speed. Don't reduce your speed. Acknowledge that yes, there is a gap between organizational capability and your style of velocity. And how do you find balance is prepare the organizations to become accelerating along with you, and acknowledge that not everybody can come with you. I'm not telling others who cannot come fire. I'm not telling.
mm.
In management, we know that 20% of the people contribute 80%, and 80% of the people contribute only 20%.
Correct.
Identify that 20% of the people who can contribute 80% and be with you, and raise the bar and stretch the goal for others to follow through that. Then, if you ask me this question 10 years back, I said the people who are lagging behind, let them leave, fire them. But today, I have more heart than ever before. Last 10 years, I learned
Mm,
lessons in life that um, not a single, you cannot be popular in organization, you cannot do everything, but the 20% of the people will run with you and make a difference. But how do you care and nurture and uh, be sensitive to the 80% of the people and give opportunities, coach them, mend them, and it's okay. uh, you cannot contribute the way, but it's okay, but make him also understand where he or she stands. If that person believe I'm contributing greatly but you are not appreciating, I said that's absolutely no. He also need to aware that where he or she stands, I'm okay, he can be part of my team or she can be part of my team, but that awareness and acceptance is very important. So these are two three things I will do it. And at the end of the day, the team is more important than the leader. So how do you take the team along with you? And that's very, very important. Yeah.
excellent. Excellent. And this is extremely useful, Sri. And given somewhere in the middle you mentioned storytelling, let me round off this conversation with a story. You have your children. What
Mhm.
stories do you tell them about leadership, Sri?
Yeah. It's a great question. The leadership stories. I liked one of this. That's what I tell uh, um, my family. Also, if you bring big names like Einstein or Jack Welch and everything, not required. The stories of day-to-day people around you, your servant, your driver, um, your neighbor, the street vendors. They are the daily heroes which you see around you. And you need to tell stories of practical things which they see around themselves. They can touch and feel and smell. That kind of stories are powerful. If I tell Jack Welch and Abraham Lincoln, that's okay. They've learned in their schools.
Correct.
That will happen. But that's what I like it. I tell one of my senior partner mentioned, who is your role model? What kind of stories you like to hear from your role model? He said, my role model is the person. Whenever I walk to office, in the reception, there's a security guard. He smiles every day, greets me. He taught me how to smile. He
Correct.
told me he's a hero for me because he taught me how to smile. So the small stories, what you need to teach to your family and children are the stories of real life which they see every day. It can be your grandmother, it can be your father, your sister, brother, the vendor, street vendor, or the electrician or the plumber comes to your home. These are the stories which is everlasting and make a huge difference to people.
Absolutely. And this connects back to the curiosity that you started off with, Sri, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You
Yeah,
story hunting and
yeah,
finding value in that story. Wonderful.
absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
This has been a great spend of our time, Sri. I should go ahead and thank you from the bottom of my heart to go ahead and say this is something that our leaders will find useful. I believe there is a connection that exists between us. I would love to sustain that connection. And
absolutely.
in the true nature of what we are talking about, I mean, our best wishes to you, Sri. I know for a fact you want to transform an entire organization. In fact, it's a global view as well. Our best wishes to you and our gratitude for your time and commitment, Sri.
Thank you, Venki. Thank you for giving an opportunity. Take care and all the best. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Sri.